What's up, hockey fans and hockey fanatics out there? Welcome to the Hockey Lounge, episode 29 for Wednesday, August 25th, 2021, 9:30 p.m. Going a little later tonight. Our guest in the lounge tonight is Big Coach Pete. Peter Cabral is in the lounge tonight. Pete, welcome to the lounge.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So, over the last several days, there hasn't been a lot of hockey talk, a lot of news and notes, some somber moments in the NHL world the last few days with, starting in the hockey world. Unfortunately, over the weekend, 3 junior players had passed away in a horrific car crash. So that started off the weekend on a somber note. Then the Mr. Ranger, Rod Gilbert, passed away on Sunday or over the weekend. And he was 80 years old. And unfortunately, the sad news came the other day with Jimmy Hayes at 31 years old, passing away. So it's been a tough few days in the hockey world for sure. Peter, your thoughts on, the developments? We'll get into more happier news, but developments of the last several days in the hockey world.
Yeah, obviously with, the way the world's going now is you don't want to hear any bad news nowadays. We already got enough of it the last year and a half. So, horrific crash. Too young to die. Hockey player or anyone for that matter. Obviously, the Ranger, diehard Ranger guy, Gilbert. Tough one. And Jimmy Hayes, I was shocked. 31 years old. I don't think they've announced yet the cause of death, but you just never want to hear that stuff. It's certainly not a good moment for when somebody leaves us that early.
For sure, and then definitely looking at the last couple of days with very quiet. You have the World Championships happening for the women's, which they're doing really well. They have a big game tomorrow night against the United States. So that's something that's definitely got the eye of the country. That tournament was pushed back because of the pandemic, and they're playing now in August. So go Canada, go. We're always rooting for every Canadian hockey team, wherever it is, whenever it is, what time it is. We always go for the red and white. So news and notes of the National Hockey League today. The daily wrap-up, we have Derek Brassard signing a 1-year contract with the Philadelphia Flyers, the black and orange. Your thoughts on Mr. Brassard? And I got a couple of thoughts on him, but first, Pete, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was interesting because I've been reading over the last little while and kind of realizing there's still a lot of really good players out there that haven't signed. So the other day they posted kind of a team of all the unrestricted free agents, and it wasn't a bad team. Are they a playoff team with the guys that were on the list? I don't know, but certainly there's a lot of good ones. And Derek Brassard is certainly, I think, a great pickup for the Flyers. 1-year deal. I think they signed him for $825. Not a lot of money, but he seems to, everywhere he goes, he seems to kind of find a niche, but never sticks with them. He's obviously plays two-way hockey, and so I think it's a great pickup for the Flyers for what they paid for him.
Yeah, he signed the 1 year, and it was $850,000. So you're bang on around that range of salary. Last year he played 53 games. He had 8 goals, 12 assists, 20 points. He was a -10. The interesting thing about Brassard, Pete, is this. This will be his 9th NHL team. Crazy to say, but this is 9 teams. And like you said, he really came out of his shell. I found the 2-3 years he played in Ottawa, when they went to the Eastern Conference Finals. He signed up, or he got in a trade with Pittsburgh, played with Pittsburgh for a couple of years, Islanders, Coyotes. He started his career in Columbus, but he's that type of player that you can run down your bottom 6, like you said.
Yeah, and we've seen him even step up in a kind of a second line role, second centerman line role, and he fits that mold where he can, like you said, go up and down the lineup. So interesting. And, I followed him a bit, and certainly when he was in Ottawa, kind of made a name for himself. And then after that, he's just never really found a team that is committed to him. It's like one and done. So don't know if there's a character issue there or a work ethic issue. But just surprising that he hasn't really found a team that, and the last, I would say at least last 3 or 4 contracts, he hasn't been making a lot of money. So he's out there. And teams are certainly not jumping on him. But like I said, I think he'll be a good pickup for a Flyer team that I think is going to be a lot better this year than they were last year for sure.
Yeah, and I also think with Brassard, you get a player that can, he can be on the PP, he can penalty kill. I think one of the things, watching him in Pittsburgh those couple of years there, he sort of has to understand what his role has become now. And that being said, his role is more of a, fourth line center, third line center. Now, if you have an injury on your second line or whatnot, he can play in that role. But I think he really needs to tend to play to his strengths. He does sort of have a little bit of a character issue, Peter. When I've seen him play, if there are not minutes, he's not that guy that wants to play fourth line. So I'm thinking this could be an issue with him. He wants to see, top 6 minutes. But hey, I do think it's a good pickup for the Flyers, and at that price, why not take a chance on him?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's one of those things. I think he thinks he's better than what he is, and instead of coming to the realization that he's a third liner or a fourth liner and playing that role, maybe he still wants to be a top 6 guy, and really he's not.
For sure.
I still think he's a good player. I still think he can fit in.
Yeah. All right, Tuukka Rask. Tuukka's Rask. Tuukka. Rask made some comments today. I'm not sure if you saw them, Peter.
I did. Yeah. And I think obviously he should be with the Leafs. So the fact he's with the Bruins drives me crazy. And his heart's in Boston. So it seems that's where he wants to be. He's not going anywhere. Even if it means winning a championship somewhere else, it seems like this is where he wants to be, and that's it.
Yeah.
So
his comments today. These are Tuukka Rask comments from today on his future in the National Hockey League. So he said, "I'm not looking for a $7 million contract anymore. I just like to help the team out. Whatever I can do to help these guys out, I will do it and end my career as a Bruin." He goes on to say, "I have no reason to chase the money anymore or go somewhere else. I feel the Bruins are my home. Boston is my home. The money will not be an issue."
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's it's rare now in the NHL because as much as you see these players saying, "Oh, it's not about the money; it's about winning; it's about whatever the team." Let's be real; these guys are trying to make as much money as they can, and until their career says they can't do it anymore. So the fact he's coming out and saying that, I guess he's always seems like he's been a super loyal guy. Mm-hmm. And that certainly speaks volumes for that factor, is that obviously he just feels like he's not going to go anywhere. And we heard it even when all that playoff during COVID, when he left the team and all those rumblings. And he's made it well known that he's not going to play anywhere else. He doesn't care if this is it. He's not chasing money. He just wants to be a Boston Bruin, and good for him. Yeah,
I think, it started off with that bubble situation where he did leave the team due to family reasons or whatnot. But his loyalty with the Bruins has always been there. They have Allmark that's there now too. That's a good 1-2 punch in Boston. Man, that's a good 1-2 punch. If he comes back, you have a decent backup there that can play 30 games. The interesting thing, Peter, one of the things that, and we've talked about this on the lounge in the past here, our team's going to do the cooch this year. Are they going to try to slide guys in, and take advantage of that?
You know what? Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't, and there's even talk that Krejci's going to come back.
Exactly, for sure. Yeah.
So, why wouldn't they? Teams are looking and saying, gee, look what Tampa did. what were they over the cap during the playoffs? Like almost like $30 million or 20.
Well, they were about 18 million. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you can send these guys off for a while and wait till you get to the playoffs where salary doesn't matter, it doesn't count against the cap. Why wouldn't you come up with that plan if you got players willing to do so? If Krejci is willing to go and play in his homeland for most of the season and come back when it counts, when playoffs start, and you can add that piece for like nothing, like that's huge. And if you can do the same thing with Rask, right? So if he takes most of the year off and comes back, a tenth of the contract that he would get at full season, again, I think it's teams will look to do that if they have those types of players that are willing to play that game.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Teeps is in the lounge tonight. He's got a couple of he's already chirping. So he said about Rask could be worse. He could be playing in Pittsburgh. There's an H at the end of Pittsburgh, Teeps, okay? And then he also says Rask should be a Leaf, and Peter mentioned that as well. And, listen, if he is a UFA, and, I had Rask going to the Leafs in my fantasy franchise that we put together as a GM a few weeks back there. The interesting thing about it too, Pete, is that these veteran players like Rask and David Krejci, like they're veterans, so they can if they're sitting out till after the new year or whatnot, and they come back and they get their legs going, and if Krejci's playing in check and comes back, Don Sweeney already talked about it, right? Like Krejci might come back, so. I think Gary Bettman has to really look at this loophole that Tampa Bay took advantage of and come down on teams.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to go where, maybe a player's got to play a certain amount of games before they qualify for being eligible to play in the playoffs. I don't know, but certainly, you can't, if it happens again this year, then I think something will happen if teams try to pull this off again. Like if Boston has Krejci and Rask for playoffs time and they go on a run, adding those two players, then I think there's going to be a lot of people pretty hot about that.
For sure, 100%. So Buffalo down the QEW here. What's up with Jack Eichel? Peter, it's been a soap opera there since day one, since he's got there, and we've touched on this in the Hockey Lounge for a number of different shows. But interesting coming out, different rumors coming out. It's on our Instagram page. Again, if you want to become a Hockey Lounge member, hit that subscribe button below. If you like the show tonight, take a slap shot at that like button. But the soap opera here. He still has not had his surgery. Is he going to have it? Is he going to report to camp? Our team's going to take a run at him, knowing that there might be a surgery down the road here. What are your thoughts?
Well, interesting. A good buddy of mine works with Eichel in Boston. So, I've kind of heard some things about Eichel, and I can tell you that Eichel's a good guy, and he's certainly. Obviously, things have changed, but he enjoys playing in Buffalo. He wanted to be a Buffalo Sabre, and he wanted to kind of start and finish what he started. So obviously, things have turned the other way now. But he was, again, just from what I've heard, he's never the guy that kind of wanted to quit on the team because of where the team's at. I don't think this is what it's about at all. I think it has to do with basically, it sounds like this injury. That he's going through, and so Kevin Adams is playing that hardball game. I think he's going to wait and get what he wants. So I think Eichel's going to be a Sabre at the beginning of the season. I don't think he gets traded before the season starts, and I'm sure eventually he's going to get traded, no doubt about it. They're going to move him at some point here. Yeah. But I think Kevin Adams is playing the game. He's going to let the season start, see where everything goes, and hope that he finds, a team or two that's desperate, that gets off to maybe the start they didn't want to get off to, and want to add a Jack Eichel and hopefully pay the piper.
Yeah.
So it's Buffalo. It's a sad state because Buffalo is so close to home, and I like going to Buffalo and watching hockey games there. But that team is certainly in not in a good place.
Right. So a couple things on Eichel. My thoughts here. Definitely, like you said, he has the passion to play. He wanted to be a Sabre. I know that you have some intel with that particular source that you have. That being said, for me, I think it's a debacle by the Buffalo Sabres what they've done here. They have a franchise player, right? But the question I have is they've been through a few GMs. I think it's 2 or 3 GMs. It's been a coach's carousel over there as well, Peter. There's been questions of, is Eichel a coach killer? If things don't go his way, does he, put his tail between his legs and say, you know what, I'm out? They haven't built a team around him per se, but they've had some good pieces. They have Rasmus Dahlin. They just got the number 1 draft pick, and we're going to get into Owen Power in a second here. They had Reinhardt. He's now traded to the Florida Panthers. They've had some good pieces. They had Robin Leonard, was their goaltender. But it seems to me is that they don't know what direction they want to go to. They hire Granato now. He was the intern. Now he's the head coach. Is that the right guy for the job? I don't know. They're in more of a rebuild stage now. But the question I have for you, Peter, is if Eichel wants to get out of there, why is he not proceeding with the surgery or a way to, okay, you know what, if it's a surgery or therapy or whatever he has to do, get this rectified so he can be put on the market? Because what I'm hearing out there is there are many teams are interested in Eichel. Yes, the package is huge for the return, but what I'm hearing is they're asking for medical reports on him, and they're not being divulged.
Yeah, so my understanding is I think Buffalo wants to do a specific or a certain type of surgery, and Eichel wants to do something completely different. So I think they're at the odds, and I don't know all the little loopholes in these contracts, but it almost sounds like Buffalo's holding the cards as far as the type of surgery he's allowed to have, which I think is, crazy. So I think that's a great point. Like, the only reason why he wouldn't go ahead and do what he wants to do is, he must be contractually obligated to follow the medical staff what Buffalo is saying. That's the only thing that makes sense why he wouldn't proceed with surgery. And clearly he doesn't agree with the way Buffalo wants to handle his injury.
Right.
So, so that part is, I agree. And that's why teams aren't going to pay the piper until that gets sorted out. As far as, the whole Eichel thing, I think, unfortunately, I think it's time that they need a new leader in that room. Eichel's their leader. That's who they followed, and things have not worked out well. Is he a coach killer? I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I'm not in those rooms.
Yeah.
But certainly I think, Buffalo as a franchise has been kind of upside down. So Eichel or no Eichel, they've been a bit of a mess. They signed Skinner to a ridiculous contract.
Right.
So they've made some mistakes for sure. But as a leader, you gotta take the team on your back and run with it. And he hasn't done that. So I think certainly once he gets moved, he's going to be under the gun. He's going to, if things don't go well wherever he ends up, then he is going to people will start questioning his character, his ability to win.
Yeah. And the final thought with Jack Eichel here, Peter, is that, and I'm just going to throw this question out to you, and Teeps makes a good point here too. He says, imagine not having control of your medical decisions. That's definitely an interesting point there. You brought that up as well. But that being said, I'm going to throw this last thought. Is Jack Eichel like a Phil Kessel? And the reason why I say this is when Phil Kessel was in Toronto, the limelight was on Phil. Okay.
Mhm.
Limelight was on Dion Phaneuf. And I don't want to go down the Leafs here, but that being said, those two gentlemen, those two players, they didn't need to be in the spotlight. They didn't like being in the spotlight. They just wanted to play hockey. Okay. They were put in positions that they didn't want to be in. Phil Kessel gets traded to Pittsburgh. Now he's like fourth in line. After a bad game, Pittsburgh loses, Sid's up, Gino's up, Letang's up. And then they find Phil eating a hot dog in the corner, right? Like, is maybe Eichel the guy that needs to be like secondary, like a secondary guy where, you know what? Take the heat off him.
I think 100%. I think you nailed it right on the head. I think he's not, and I think that's part of the problem. I think he wants to be the guy, but I don't think he's the guy. I think he needs to go to a team that he's kind of that secondary. Like, I think Phil Kessel's a great example, where he's just going to fit in and do his thing and just play hockey and not have to worry about putting a team on his back. Because I think he just, I mean, from what I've heard and known of Jack Eichel is he just likes to play hockey. So I think he doesn't like that other stuff. He just wants to play the game.
Right. So we're going to keep on the Buffalo Sabres here for just a few more minutes, and we're going to get into Owen Power going back to school. Saw him in the Walmart commercial with his buggy, filling up the buggy with all the school stuff. I'm going back. Forget the Sabres, Pete.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think he's brilliant. I think it's brilliant. I really do. I'm super impressed. This kid looked fantastic in the World's Championship. He was. I thought he was, top 2D on that team.
For sure.
So I think it's a brilliant move because he looked at the Buffalo situation and I think this is going to be a write-off year. It's going to be turmoil. It's going to be change, and they're probably going to be in last place. And why give up a great opportunity? He's going back to school with a great team, having a chance to win a championship. So I think it's the right move. I think it's smart of him to kind of say, hey, you know what? The NHL can wait for me. And I think he's ready. I think he's ready to jump into the NHL. I really do. But good for him to kind of say, you know what? NHL can wait for me for another year. I got other goals and, probably a better plan, to be honest with you.
Yeah. The three big guns that got drafted in the NHL draft last month are all going back, and they're going to take a run with Michigan, see if they can get a title. But the one thing I love about this, Peter, is Owen Power is saying to the Sabres, get your shit together. Get your shit together before I come there, because I don't want to be part of this circus.
Yep.
And I love it. Right.
Yep. I agree with you.
And I'm putting my money down today, Peter, August 25th. Okay. If this circus continues next year, this guy will be asking for a trade out of Buffalo.
I wouldn't be shocked. I would not be shocked if they don't get their, like you said, their shit together and they're not going in a certain direction. I can totally see this guy saying, hey, I want to come to the NHL, but I don't want to come to the circus. So I agree with you. I agree that's probably a conversation that I don't know that he would, but probably his agent told the Buffalo Sabres, like, here's why he's going back to college. And I wouldn't be shocked if he says because he thinks the team isn't going in the proper direction. And hopefully by next year you guys will, and he'll be ready to go.
Right. So Buffalo Sabres are going to be a team to watch. And I feel sorry for the Sabres because their fans are passionate. It's a great building to watch a game no matter who you're going to play. I remember back in the day when they were making those runs in the Eastern Conference Finals. A really good friend of the lounge, the tipster, had seasons, and we were going to the Anchor Bar for beer and wings, and we were watching the Sabres when they were wearing the black, red, and white, black, red, and white when they had the different colors there. Yeah. That building was rocking, Peter. It was incredible.
Yeah, I went to a bunch of games there, and it's, like I said, it's a great building. It's a great place. Obviously, there's a bunch of Canadians that go over the border because, good luck trying to get Leaf tickets for a Leaf game at, $50, $80, whatever it is now, to go watch a Sabre game. So it's a shame. So hopefully, you know what? Kevin Adams is an interesting guy. Obviously, he's a rookie GM. He's been with the organization now for a bit.
Yeah.
The owner there is not going to say too much, but it is what it is. But you never know. They got, if I'm the coach, I'm going in there and telling these guys, hey, everyone thinks we're a joke here. You guys are NHL players. They need to go out and prove themselves game in, game out. And sometimes that could be a dangerous team. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, or I still think they're going to finish in last. But hopefully at least they're respectable, and at least they start showing that they belong at least.
Exactly. So let's talk about your favorite hockey team, the Toronto Maple Leafs. And a guy that we've had many conversations, Peter, offline, on the phone, at the rink. Morgan Rielly, extension or trade. So there was a bunch of rumblings out there in the media today, in the social media platforms, of some talk of Morgan Rielly getting extended before training camp. And he is in his last year of contract at $5 million. Peter, he played 55 games last year, 5 goals, 30 assists, 35 points, a plus 11 for $5 million. So you're a huge Leaf fan. You watch them very, very in detail every game. What are your thoughts on Rielly?
Oh, man, I guess when they got eliminated or I was on that episode, that was one of the guys I wanted out.
Yeah.
And my feelings haven't changed. So having said that, everything I've heard about Morgan Rielly is he's a superhuman being, and he's even a better teammate. So, I think the guys love having him in that room. I know Dubas and Shanny love the guy for what he brings. But I just, unfortunately, I think his hockey IQ and some of the things that he does on the ice doesn't warrant him to be a number one defenseman, especially a team that's trying to chase the Stanley Cup. Do I think he's a good player? Absolutely. Do I think he fits in? Sure. Do I think he's a number one D? No, I don't. Or at least he shouldn't be a number one D on the Leafs. Now, having said that, he could have a bounce back year and lights out this year. He's shown some flashes, but I just don't like his consistency and certain parts of his game, and mainly a lot of decision making that bothers me. And I have being a diehard Leaf fan, I think to win a Stanley Cup you need a stud back there. You look at all the teams that have won the cups, and Tampa Bay doesn't win a cup probably without Hedman. I don't care what anyone says. They are a stacked team, but they go as far as Hedman goes.
Yeah.
And the list will go on. The teams that win it, for most anyways, high percentage of teams that win a Stanley Cup have a number one stud defenseman. So, unfortunately, I don't think Rielly's that guy. Hopefully he is. Would I extend him? It's a tough call. Like, some of the money these D got this year was crazy.
Let me ask you, though, because, again, there's some media reports that he might be willing to take a hometown discount. Mm-hmm. My challenge with Morgan Rielly, this is the thing with Morgan. I like the guy. He's got character. He's always a guy that doesn't hide from the media. If the team plays bad, if they get knocked out, he's always the guy in the forefront to come out and talk. I respect the guy for that. Do I think he's a number one defenseman? No. Do I think he can be your 2 or 3 guy? 100%. Yeah. If you look at his points last year, 35 points, plus 11. But you're right. He's not going to be your stud to play you the 20, 25 minutes. But I think a number 2, number 3 guy. Mm-hmm. This is my preference, and again, I'm not a Leaf fan. I really think Morgan Rielly should have been the captain of this team. I think, in my opinion, and the reason why I say that is that I think it would have flushed out a lot of the nonsense with Tavares over Matthews over Tavares, and Morgan Rielly sort of, when they went with those assistant captains there for a couple of years, he was always the guy in the forefront, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, is it about having a heavy contract for him? No. I would say for me, it would be anywhere between 4.5.
That's what you would pay him, 4.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no chance he's signing for that much. There's no chance. I mean, I don't think he signs for anything less. I mean, if he's going to give us a discount to me would be under 8.
Under 8.
Under 8.
Wow.
Well, you look at the guys that just got 9 plus, and as much as I knock Riley, I don't think he's that far behind those guys that just got $9 million.
Well, Dougie Hamilton, again, one of those guys, and I'm not a big fan of his. I think he's way overrated. I think he's, he's a defensive liability. He comes and goes as he pleases. He's wore many jerseys in the NHL. I get what you're saying, right? But and you look at a guy like Christopher Letang for the Pittsburgh Penguins, his contract is ended after this year, and they're talking around the $6 million range. And to me, he's still a legitimate number one. The guy logs almost 30 minutes of ice. He's much better than Morgan Riley. If you're saying $6 million for Letang, okay, so $5 million. If you were to go $5 million, Pete, would you extend him, or are you still looking to trade him? Because I know I remember when they got knocked out, you wanted him out. I know that, and this is why one of the reasons why I'm glad you're on tonight, because I smiled when I heard about this Morgan Riley stuff.
Yeah,
because I know that you're not his biggest fan.
No. At $5 million, I'm signing him because he's not really handicapping us, and it still gives you an opportunity to go get that $7-8 million defenseman. So at $5 million, I'm signing him for sure. I think, like you said, he's a good number 2. But if you sign him for 7 and 8, he's got to be your number 1 guy. You're not going to sign another D for the same amount of money or more. Right. So if you lock him in anything north of 7, especially with their salary cap situation, he's going to be your number 1 D. You're not going to find anyone else above him. So you're going to be stuck with him. And I'm sure if he's going to give you a hometown discount, guess what he's going to want? He's going to want term.
Yeah.
So he's not going to sign at a hometown discount and sign for 2 or 3 or 4 years for that matter. It's going to be plus. Oh, guaranteed. Yeah. So you're going to be committed. And hearing Dubas, it's interesting, and I kind of respect it as much as you get frustrated as a Leaf fan. It seems like he's all in with these guys, and I think Morgan Riley's part of his all in. They talk about the 4, obviously Nylander, Marner, Matthews, and Tavares, but I think when he's saying all in, I think Morgan Riley's part of the conversation.
Yeah, I think so too. And like I said on previous shows, is that Kyle Dubas will go down with the ship, and that's what it seems to be. He's going to go down with the ship. If it goes down, he's going down. He believes in the crew. He believes in the core. And by all means, you know what? Yeah, the core is young. And listen, maybe they go one more year with this core. We'll see what happens this year, but definitely interesting to see what they do with Riley. Teeps has made another comment here. He says he actually meant bring Kane to Toronto. Woodbine Casino is building a major expansion. That's a bad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He would be a great fit. Yeah. Man, how good would he look with Matthews and Marner?
Oh, boy.
Jesus.
Yeah, there's another guy. Maybe Buffalo goes after him and gets him back. Perfect fit in Buffalo, right?
That's all they would need.
Right. So I want to talk about COVID a little bit here with a gentleman that and a player that is an interesting pick. He was a draft pick back in 2020, 9th overall. And he is Marco Rossi is back. Marco Rossi had COVID, hit him really, really hard, really, really bad. Had to stop training, he was in bad condition. And today, I saw some clips of him and some quotes, and there's a quote that's out there, and I'll just read what Marco Rossi had to say today. He said, "I know I'm in better shape than a lot of NHL players, so I see no doubt that I can play in the NHL. I know I can play there. I know how good I am. I know it's going to be up to me to show up and be ready. I am ready right away." He also said, "Of course, I've seen a lot of trade rumors on the internet, but I always say the same thing. I can't control these things. I want to focus on things I can control, and things hopefully show Minnesota that they don't trade me." So interesting comments from Marco Rossi. Mm-hmm. For the viewers, Peter, that don't know Marco Rossi, his last year in the OHL, in 56 games played, he had 39 goals, 81 assists, and 120 points. This is a dynamic hockey player. that Minnesota Wild is going to add to their team. And even if they get Kriprasov to sign with them, they're going to be pretty dynamic. They got some youth here. So your thoughts on Marco Rossi?
Yeah, I read his story as well a while back, and pretty scary stuff.
Yeah.
He was touch and go at one time. They didn't even think he was going to make it. So, young guy, and with the crazy world we're living in, had to deal with COVID, and really took, like you said, he's a dynamic hockey player. And took a lot of steps back. Right. So it would be fantastic. I mean, you'd love to hear these stories where these guys are, up against the wall and come out and sounds like he's been just working his off. I would love nothing more than to see this kid crack that lineup, because I think they're going to be a really good team and be a player. And I think he is a player. And hopefully, what he went through will just motivate him even more than he was already before in terms of making that NHL. Sometimes life takes you down a road, and sometimes when you overcome these life-changing moments, it makes you not only a better person, but hopefully a stronger human being, and certainly that could lead to being having a great career in the NHL. So I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I also brought up Marco Rossi tonight was his name has surfaced in part of a deal to Buffalo for Jack Eichel. Mm-hmm. So interesting to see that come about too. So just going to get your last thoughts here on a rookie that we saw somewhat in the NHL, Peter, last year. And his name was brought up. He got hurt a little bit, I guess, in some type of rookie camp over the last 2 days. Quinton Byfield. Your thoughts on him, and I had this interesting conversation with a hockey guy this morning about this. Quinton Byfield, Tim Stützle. My feeling here, Peter, is that Stützle's the guy. I think this guy is going to be a machine. Byfield, I think LA is going to regret this pick. I could be wrong, but what are your thoughts on these two players?
Yeah, so I watched Byfield a few games in the O in Sudbury, and big dude, plays center, and that's obviously an important position to have a young guy that's got some size with skill at that position. Could be obviously super important for a team that's rebuilding. But like you, I'm not a big fan. You saw him at the World Junior Championship, and that was, the first year. I think he was the 13th forward, made the team, young guy, and all good experience. And you're hoping to see a different step. And he did have some good moments. I think he had a game where he had 4 points. But besides that game, he was pretty ordinary. He didn't really take a step, I didn't think, watching the World Juniors, especially being a second overall pick. Hopefully, you want the best for any player, especially these young guys that are getting into the NHL at such a young age. So I want to see him succeed, but as a hockey person and kind of just seeing him play and watching him for a bit, I agree with you. I think LA might be regretting this pick.
Yeah. There's been comparisons out there, Peter, to Byfield having the Malkin pedigree. Listen, the kid put up a bunch of points, in minor hockey and junior hockey. He might be a late bloomer. My thoughts are he has to definitely work on his conditioning and his foot speed to play in the NHL and have a different and be a difference maker. But like you said, who knows? And for all of them, I would love to see all these young players that come out, especially the first overall players, those guys in the first round do well, because it's hard on them. There's a lot of expectations. So, we'll see where we'll see this season with a full 82 game schedule. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think Byfield, and I could be wrong if I had to do a comparison right now. I'd say he could be kind of like a Dylan Strome. That's kind of what he reminds me of. Big dude, plays center, and Dylan Strome's never really found his game, and he's that's kind of what I see, and we'll see if I'm right or wrong.
For sure. And you know what? The best part about this night is, Peter, I get a text from my son just now when I'm on the hockey lounge. I broke my stick. You got to love it. You got to love it, right?
So, Jesus.
Right? So,
yeah, he needs to find a sponsor. He needs somebody to sponsor him so he can get free sticks. Yeah. Jesus.
Here we go. Right?
Oh, man.
Gotta love that. Anyways, Peter, thank you for coming on the show tonight. It's been a blast.
Thanks for having me.
We're gonna be on live tomorrow night for the viewers. 9:00 tomorrow night. The Hockey Lounge will be back again. If you want to become a Hockey Lounge member, hit that subscribe button below. If you love the show tonight, slapshot the like button. For all the viewers out there, thank you for watching. We will see you tomorrow night on the Hockey Lounge. Stay safe and see you tomorrow.